The second topic I want to talk to you about is one hypothesis going around on the internet that come chemtrails, that governments should be spraying out some chemical in the sky to manipulate the weather or the climate.
Yeah.
In my point of view, it's of course maybe we can make some rain clouds and we can manipulate the weather in some extent, but in a large scale, I think it seems too much energy in the weather systems for us to be able to do that.
Yeah.
What are your views on that?
Well, I had to look up chemtrails because I wasn't following the meme on the internet. So there, I guess I would have to put it in an unkind way. There's a lot of very silly things being said about the idea of chemtrails in terms of being governments putting chemicals in the fuel for airplanes, which salting the atmosphere with bad stuff. So you're just setting aside the temperature of combustion in a turbine engine for an aircraft. There's not much that will survive it except just basic elements. It's a very high temperatures. A couple thousand degrees. You're really nothing that's harmful to humans survives those temperatures. But your point about doing things to our atmosphere, whether it's to induce rain, which has been a long time goal, or to affect heating or cooling of the atmosphere with putting chemicals or particles in the atmosphere. This so-called geoengineering has always been an appealing idea in science fiction. Your instincts are exactly correct. The energetics just show it won't work. The scale and the magnitude of energy in the weather systems, never mind climate systems, just in weather. Weather, of course, is a consequence of climate. Weather is not the climate, as you know. But just storms and weather systems, the flows of energy in our atmosphere, utterly overwhelm anything that we have the capacity to do to impact them. In fact, easy way to context it is with hurricanes or typhoons. I mean, our most powerful energy systems are nuclear weapons, right? Multi-megaton weapons. Typhoons and hurricanes release quantities of energy that are equal to tens and hundreds of typhoons per hour or second. Are just astonishing quantities of energy. So, people have talked about trying to disrupt typhoons by dropping a nuclear bomb in them to say to prevent the typhoon from coming ashore and killing people. But no one's done it because obviously it's a nuclear weapon. But more importantly, when you just do the sort of energy balances, it seems very unlikely you could have any significant effect, just given nature. There's an awful lot of hubris and an awful lot of things that people say when it comes to affecting the planet. The planet looks like a little tiny jewel from outer space, and it is tiny in the sense of the scale of the solar system or the galaxy. But from the scale of human beings, the things we can do, our capacity to use things or influence things, the planet's awfully big. Its systems are just enormous. We have some effects. We've done these things. I mean, the whole climate debate's about the extent of our effect on the carbon dioxide balance, obviously, but there are other effects we have. China's irrigation policies or agricultural policies 1,000 years ago actually had local weather effects. They irrigated, changed the land use by so much that it actually demonstrably and measurably changed some local weather patterns. Didn't change the planet. That's my point. Is that even though hundreds of millions of people can affect some local weather dynamic, changing the planet's really, no pun intended, it's a very heavy lift. So I get the chemtrail where, it's pretty easy to believe in conspiracies these days because so much bad stuff is going on in many governments. So our temptation we discover things that we're shocked at, conspiracies, or if not conspiracies, silencers or secrecy that we find inappropriate from our government leaders, and we're shocked by whatever the issue is, and we're properly shocked. So you're then much more likely to believe, conspiracy theories that are really kind of kooky, just because such crazy things are happening in the political world. So I put chemtrails kind of on the kooky end of the spectrum, but it doesn't mean that governments can't have and imagine doing some bad things to their citizens. I mean, that's what chemical warfare was in World War I and some extent World War II.
Maybe it's a picture of the people, like the mistrust for governments and
Yes.
politicians, and people don't know what to think. So this kind of theories pop up here and there,
Yeah.
and people tend to believe them because they kind of don't know what to believe anymore.
I know it's
So
it's a problem. I mean, the matter of trust is extraordinarily important. I mean, it's not much different when we're talking about nuclear safety. What I encounter when I talk to people about this is that they say, "Well, you say that, but I have to trust the government to make it safe, right? I have to trust what they're saying, that the regulations will keep it safe." And there's some truth to that, right? I mean, airplanes are safe because first we design them to be safe. They're not perfect, and then we have some regulations and oversight. You have to get permits to fly an airplane that meet certain safety standards. So we have some faith in government of doing a good job on that. I mean, so when you erode that faith by dissembling, having secrecy and lies in other areas, I agree with you. What happens is it erodes people's faith across the board because they don't know what else you're making up. So
exactly.
I don't know what the fix is. When we live in democracies, the fix is to elect people that are, let's say, at least more honest. There's no perfect human, but
No. So bottom line is chemtrails is a wishful thinking for politicians, but not really a thing we should worry about.
yeah, I see no evidence in the underlying science, if you like, but I sympathize with people's suspicions about being told stories that aren't true.
Yeah.